I kind of told myself, okay, so this is a transition. You're just going to learn how to talk. You're going to make friends. You're going to do things. You're just going to do it. Kyla, go. I guess, yeah, I kind of throughout college, I was like, any opportunity that came my way, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. And just kind of like the whole, I get to, and you get comfortable with things and figure out what you like. And I really love people, so.
Hello, and welcome back to the You Need a Counselor podcast. My name is Julie Johnson. I am the president and founder here at Heart and Solutions. We are a strength-based counseling agency here in Iowa, and we are still doing outpatient mental health services through telehealth and in person in our offices.
And I'm Chrissa Hunt. I am the Vice President in charge of the BHIS department at Heart and Solutions. So BHIS stands for Behavioral Health Intervention Services. And that's the program where we go in home and work with children ages 4 through 18 on different behavioral skills. And we can also work with them in school, in our office, or through telehealth as well. And this is our podcast, You Need a Counselor. So we are designed for people curious about counseling, but have barriers keeping them from experiencing the benefits of counseling. Our mission is to share stories about counseling, good, bad, and indifferent, and spread the message that everyone can benefit from mental health and behavioral health counseling services.
So we post every Sunday night at 5 p.m. Central Time. So we encourage you guys to batch up your laundry or whatever horrible task you're doing. If you are listening to this right now and doing some horrible laundry or meal prepping for the week, good job. So are we. Sunday nights is time to get ready for the week, get yourself off to a fresh start, and also gives you that entire week to get set up with a counselor of your choice, or to get in touch with our guest from this week. So today we have a special guest. We're very excited to have Kyla Jo with us today. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Kyla. Kyla is a behavioral health intervention services provider here in Iowa at Heart and Solutions, and she works out of the Ames office. So she does that in-home behavioral health service for kids. And Kyla and I share a background in criminal justice as well. We actually flipped that. So I majored in criminal justice and I minored in psychology, and Kyla majored in psychology and minored in criminal justice. So we've got that in common. And then Kyla currently works with those children in home and with their families, but previously worked as a residential treatment facility, as a youth specialist, also has done BHIS groups, behavioral health intervention support groups, which we've never talked about on this show before. We've never talked about groups or really residential treatment facilities for children. So we're very, very excited to have Kyla here. So welcome, Kyla. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks.
So Kyla, I am very interested to hear about doing group BHIS services, behavioral health intervention, because we here at Heart and Solutions, we really don't do a lot of BHIS groups, and group support is can be such a great tool for so many people. So we'd love to hear, what are BHIS groups all about?
So BHIS groups are, it's kind of the same things we work on individually: anger management, coping skills. It's a lot more, when I did BHIS groups, it was in a residential facility. So it was a lot more of rapport building, like between the clients, so that they could make friends and like get along with each other more. It was a little bit difficult because of the age of clients we worked with were like kind of the same as BHIS too, like 4 to 18. So I would have an 8-year-old with autism with a 15-year-old that was transitioning from like juvenile facility, trying to go back home. So it's kind of hard to mix up stuff to get everyone what they need. Yeah,
that's a challenge with such a wide variety. BHIS is such a wide variety of ages. And so, yeah, the fact that you could have a 15-year-old in there with a younger child, like a 4-year-old,
Yeah.
that's difficult to do all of those skills at an age appropriate way. How did you cope with those age differences in the group?
I did a lot of games. So we did a lot of M&M activities. So there, if you look on Pinterest, there's some worksheets with like M&Ms that have different types of like how many colors you get. You have to say these amount of things make me happy. Like if I have this many green M&Ms, I'll say 5 things that make me happy. If I have, I don't know, 4 red M&Ms, I have to say 4 things that make me angry, or like things that I'm grateful for, what I like to do, and everyone can kind of answer those.
I like that. And everybody likes M&Ms, no matter
Yeah.
how old they are.
Children for.
But there are
Like
some
even
kids
adults
with
would do that activity.
allergies.
Yeah.
So you have to take out the red M&Ms, red 40.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Absolutely. Yeah, that can really have some behavioral challenges
Yeah.
when there's an allergy to that kind of food dye, and not everybody knows about that.
Yeah.
But I've anecdotally we've worked with so many families that once they kind of figured that out and identified it, and oh my goodness, what a difference that can make. And it just shows, what the impact of our body chemistry is on all of these behaviors. There's sometimes a thought process with mental health and behavioral health that everything is a choice, right? That we're making all of our decisions up here, and the truth is that we're not making all the decisions up here. They're happening in our body, and there's all the different chemicals do have that huge impact on our behavior. So what we eat, even the type of water that we drink, right? The quality of air, and then those allergens can really have such a huge impact. So what a great point that it's not something that we would always think about, right? And in classrooms too, I know a lot of elementary schools do a lot of activities with Skittles and with M&Ms and different candies. My daughter comes home sometimes and goes, "It was a great day. We did a Skittles activity." And those dyes can have that chemical reaction. So it's a great thing to be thinking about. Yeah. Wow. So what were some of the things that group work was able to accomplish maybe in a different way than individual work does?
So there were very different age ranges and needs, but there were kids that were the same age and had similar like experiences. So I think that doing that made them feel more comfortable with their peers, because a lot of kids in those facilities are outcasted, lonely, and it's like, oh wait, you're the same as me. We relate.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's so much to be said for knowing that we're not alone. And it's one thing for people to say to us, "You're not alone," right? Or a BHIS worker to say, "You've got a family that cares for you," or "You've got this counselor that cares for you," or this friend that cares for you. But being able to see in real time somebody else struggling or succeeding with something that we're also struggling with, it's huge. And it goes beyond words when we see something like that. We feel the energy of something like that with somebody who we can relate with. So absolutely, I love that. Just being able to stave off some of that loneliness and isolation.
Yeah.
That it's a cycle. There are behavioral challenges and concerns that cause isolation, right? Either directly or indirectly, with difficulty with peers, difficulty with family members, and with relationships. And then on the same token of it, that isolation can then cause and impact those behaviors, and it just cycles through. And so something like a group being able to have that opportunity to kind of stop that cycle a little bit in its tracks and go, wait a minute, where do we put connection with other people who can really understand what we're going through is huge. So how cool. Wow. And so this was in a residential facility and you were a youth specialist. So what is a youth specialist in the facility?
It means that I can run groups and that I work the floor. So just kind of hanging out with the kids' day-to-day life things, getting them through their routine, going to school.
Yeah, I mean, those can sometimes on the surface in a residential facility, things like getting to school, right? Like your morning routine, that can seem like, well, that's not the focus of what we're doing in the residential facility, but those small things can really be the big things. Being, getting to meals and sitting down at mealtime, those are the big things a lot of the time.
They were difficult a lot of the times.
Absolutely. And so you were there helping with those routines throughout the day, and then support for the children, and then running the groups as well. Yeah. Wow. So how is that different, residential BHIS or residential treatment versus what you're doing now, going in home and working with the children and their families? I mean, the family piece is a big variable as well. How do those differ?
So getting to know the family is a big difference too, because in a residential facility, the only time you really see the family is if a kid were to go on a visit. You walk them to the door and you meet their parent. And I think another difference is like working individually in BHIS right now is that I only see the kids for a session. I don't see them in day-to-day life. I don't know what it's like outside of session.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like dating versus living together, right?
Yeah.
Those are totally different relationships. And when you live with somebody, you realize where they clip their toenails, and you realize what they sound like when they sleep, right? And it's a different kind of relationship. And so on the one side, when you're in a residential facility, you're getting to see those day-to-day things, right? Like, what kind of toothpaste does this kid prefer? Or, things like that. How long do they brush their teeth? How do they hold their toothbrush? I mean, things like that you get to know about people when you're in that close proximity. But not getting to meet their family and doing the in-home sessions and getting to see, oh, this is how my client interacts with me when it's just the two of us. And then when we add 2-year-old brother, this is how my client interacts with me, right? And how different our clients' behaviors can look in different settings and in different relationships. And isn't that true of all of us as adults as well? We're different with different people and in different settings. And all of those factors really impact our behaviors in a way that as a BHIS counselor, we can tap into and go, wait a minute, like when we're doing a puzzle together, you are so focused. You are so, right, like determined to finish this. And then when older brother comes in the room, like, what happens, right? And maybe they're wanting to impress them, right? So they're rushing, or they're trying to, get that relationship feeling with their brother. So they're trying to include them, and all of those different factors that come into behavior. It sounds like it is so very different between the two. Very cool. And so you minored in criminal justice. What made you want to have that as your minor?
So initially going into college, I wanted to major in criminal justice. But my interests kind of changed while I was there. I was involved in a lot of extracurriculars that were like leadership focused and like diversity focused. And I was like, whoa, I really love getting to know people. And then, so I just kind of changed to psychology, kept the minor in criminal justice. I wanted to work in the field of criminal justice when I graduated, but my first interview was to be a correctional officer, and I started crying during that, and I was like, I don't think this is the job for me. I've taken the police test, and I was like, I just don't think that I should go forward in this path. I think I'm better with working with people. I want to help people, and my goal was to help people that were involved with like the justice system, but law enforcement and like counseling or BHIS is way different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you. I majored in criminal justice because I wanted to be an attorney. And so we used to do mock trial all the time, and that was a challenge. And the more that I got into the criminal justice field and the work of it and getting those experiences, the more I thought, I want to be on the preventative side, I want to be on the rehabilitation side, and not on the punitive side. There is a need for the punitive side, and I understand it, and absolutely, but it just wasn't a fit with myself, with who I am and how I felt about the process. So it sounds like we had somewhat similar trajectories there.
Yeah. I used to join AA and NA groups, and that kind of sparked my interest more in psychology too, because like you hear like you were arrested and then you did this and you're getting better, and I like want to support people that are getting better rather than be on the other side.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's so much more intersection of mental health, behavioral health in the justice system or the criminal justice system now than I think there ever has been, but there's still a line there. There's still, and the gap is getting closer, but there's still a big gap there. And sometimes, we see that gap. It sounds like you identified that gap too. And you said, oh, I got to pick a side of this. Right. And I would love for that gap to close, but while we're closing that gap, we're closing it from kind of one side or the other. So very cool. So at that time, did you think you wanted to work with children? Because you're working with children now.
No, not at all. I never wanted to work with children until like maybe a year into my first job in a residential facility. I was like, I do not want to work with kids. I want to work with adults. But I think the kids, it's more preventative, and like I feel like kids experience things that they don't control, and then they end up like worse off as an adult because of things they don't control, because there's just not enough to help them. And so I think that working with kids gives me the opportunity to be able to help them so that they can grow from their experiences.
Absolutely. I agree with you about working with children. There's that prevention piece and that impact piece, I think, with children that not that adults, but hey, there's hope for everybody, right? There's hope for all of us too. And we've got long lives ahead of us, and those things make a difference for us, but children have a much longer time for those messages and those changes in behavior to have a wider impact on their lives. And so I agree with you. I think that working with kids there's a lot of hope when it comes to working with children that I always love to feel. And they can't always express to us how those changes are happening, and sometimes we don't see them at all. Because we maybe work with them for 2, maybe 3 years, and then we don't have maybe further contact with them, so we don't always get to see those changes, but we know that they do make a difference, even if we're planting seeds, working with a 6-year-old and planting those seeds. We have no way to know how that's going to impact their life as a 50-year-old. Yeah. Gosh, so you gave us a quote, your favorite, or a favorite quote, And I just loved it. So I wanted to ask you about it. Let me read the quote here for us. So the quote is, replace calm down with I'm excited. Replace I don't want to with I get to. And replace I'm scared with I'm pumped. And this is from the book of Moods. Tell us about this quote and why it resonates with you.
So I really like this quote because I feel like I've used it a lot, maybe not in like the exact terms until I read the book. But I'm a pretty anxious person. I used to not like, I would not go out to eat. I will not do anything if I have to talk for myself. I don't like to be alone. I don't like to do things by myself. But then once I started telling myself, well, you know, I get to do this. Why not do it? Like I could be mute. I could not be able to speak. I should speak and just do it. More experiences, you know?
Like the podcast.
Yeah. Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, gosh, there's those feelings, and it ties in a little bit with stuff we kind of talked about before, right? About how our bodies determine, like there's this physiological component to the things that we do and the things that people see from the outside, and not all of it is choice. And so when we're anxious, our bodies do a lot of things like we don't ask it to do. Like I'm never like, hey body, I'm about to do this thing, can you like start making my hands shake really bad? Right? Could you like make me start feeling really sweaty and also make my mind go blank? Like I never ask my body to do those things, right? But it does it anyway. And I love this quote because being able to change that I'm nervous to I'm excited is so powerful, because our bodies, the physiology is the same. Like if I'm excited to do something, I'm going to be sweaty and I'm going to have, my mind is going to go blank, except for that thing that I'm excited about. My hands are going to shake, and I'm going to, right, have that feeling of energy build up. That when I feel those things, my brain immediately goes to I'm scared, right? What's wrong? And and so then my brain goes like, oh, my body's doing some stuff, like what's wrong, right? What am I supposed to be worried about? What am I supposed to be like, what's coming after me? What's going to happen? And so changing that to I'm excited, right? Wait, my body's doing this thing. What the heck? What am I excited about? I think is so cool, because our bodies send that message the exact same way. Like there isn't a change in the physiology. It's just about how we interpret the messages that our body is sending us. And the same thing, if we break that down into like hunger, for example, right? If my body sends me hunger pains and I don't know what that is, and I interpret it as like, oh, I'm sick, right?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to like, oh, I'm hungry, I'm going to have a much different experience emotionally and mentally than I do if I feel that and I go, oh my gosh, it's 1:30, I'm hungry, right? And go, oh, I know what to do with that. Let me go eat something, right?
Yeah.
So totally different. And Mel Robbins has a TED Talk about this, about her example is that she was getting on a plane, and that feeling of like, oh, I'm anxious about getting on this plane. Like I don't know if I'm the only person who imagines the plane going down as we're ascending, right? And Final Destination did not help that situation whatsoever. And also I can't drive behind trucks that are carrying logs.
Roller coasters.
I won't drive behind it, right? Like that movie did a good job. But when she talks about when we're going onto a plane or anything else that we're anxious about, and that feeling, and then saying, okay, what is this feeling though? Is there another possibility? Is there another reason why I might be having these feelings in my body? And excitement is just as plausible of a reason as anything else, right? Absolutely. I love that. And I love what you talked about in terms of I get to, right? Instead of like, oh, I don't want to make small talk with the waiter, right? Like I don't want to have to do these things, but then being able to go, wait, but I get to. And there are people who can't do that. And gosh, how that can really just change the way that we think about things. As long as we don't get into like, well, now I'm ungrateful because I'm having these feelings. Like I love it in terms of the way that it validates those feelings. Right? Yeah. Gosh, so what else do you talked about, feeling anxious, not wanting to go out or not wanting to go to places where you need to order or talk to people. And then now for a living full time, you go into strangers' homes.
Yeah.
With an entire family at
You have
one
to talk
time.
to them for 2 hours.
How are you doing this?
When I went to college, I kind of told myself, okay, so this is a transition. You're just going to learn how to talk. You're going to make friends. You're going to do things. You're just going to do it. Kyla, go. So I guess, yeah, I kind of throughout college, I was like, any opportunity that came my way, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. And just kind of like the whole, I get to, and you get comfortable with things and figure out what you like. And I really love people. So.
Have you ever seen the movie Yes Man?
I don't think so.
Where he says yes to everything. That's Kyla.
he says yes to, so it's Jim Carrey. And he decides that he is going to say yes to everything, or maybe it's a bet, or for some reason he says, well, I'm going to say yes to everything. Yeah. And the doors that it opens for him, saying yes to everything, right? And some of them are not great experiences, and some, but even though they're not great experiences, they're still experiences. And being able to have those experiences and learn from them. So it reminds me of that, of Yes Man. That ability to say, okay, when I hear that dinner invitation, I feel afraid, and I know that I feel afraid, and I'm going to say yes, because that's the way that the next dinner invitation is going to feel less scary.
Yeah.
Because I have the experience of saying yes to this one and I survived it and nothing horrible happened. Or if something horrible did happen, I realized I can live through that horrible thing.
Yeah.
And going through, wow. And that takes a lot of discipline to not respond to we're acknowledging the feeling, right? But we're not acting behaviorally on that feeling. That takes a lot of discipline to do. How did you build that discipline in yourself?
That's a hard question. I think
because it's hard to do. We want to know how
to do it.
I think I grew up kind of really independent. I took care of myself a lot. I took care of my brothers. And you kind of just learn to just do things when you're growing up more independent, I guess. You kind of are like, you have to do it, so do it. I guess at the end of high school, I kind of got involved in a lot of sports. I did wrestling. Wrestling really built a lot of discipline in me.
Cool.
It takes a lot of work to do.
I didn't know that you wrestled.
Yeah, I wasn't good.
But you tried it.
I learned how to do pull-ups.
Wow, that is impressive.
Wow, very cool. We our guest last week was a returning guest, and he wrote a book called Wrestling Depression is Not for Wimps, because he was a wrestling champion. So absolutely, I mean, that takes a tremendous amount of discipline to do. And then there's a lot of work in research in this idea of what is our go-to like default setting when somebody, because there are challenges with saying no to everything and every opportunity. There are also a lot of challenges to saying yes to everything and every opportunity. And how do we balance that out? And so, some of the work that's being done is about like, what is our default, and my default is yes. But my default is like a hesitant yes, because my actual default is no.
Mhm.
Like I'll like experience it and I'll be like, I don't want to do it. And then I'll say yes by default because I should do it. And that, right. And so like I have that like immediate default and then that other default. And then I gotta go through this whole process, right? Of like, wait, but do I want to do the
Yeah, can I
thing?
cancel?
Yeah, like what are the, and trying to do that before I say yes to it, right? Because I think like my some of the challenges come when we say yes before we've processed it out as well. So so are there challenges with saying yes to everything, and how do you kind of balance those out as well?
There are challenges with saying yes to everything. Sometimes when you say yes to everything, you get kind of a too busy schedule. And I guess something that I do is I use my planner and try to balance things out. And I include my personal stuff in there. That way I don't overcommit myself to other people or like other things. Other challenges that I've had with like saying yes is with I guess relationships with people. Like I like getting to know people, and I'm someone that will talk to strangers, and that's not always safe. Um
Yeah.
so like I guess trying to read the situation and make sure that it's safe and appropriate to talk to someone is something that I've done to balance that out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a kind of a societal pressure, I think, sometimes. And I think especially on women to like talk to people that,
Nice.
and be polite. Even if like we're not feeling super comfortable, to do that. And my my daughter's 6, and the other day we were at a festival or something, and this perfectly nice woman came over and started talking to her and said her name, and she said, "How do you know me? I don't know you." Super embarrassed, because then the person said, "Oh, I'm a substitute teacher at your school. I had you in class the other day." Um, but part of me too was like, okay, like I'm okay with that response. I like that response, of saying like, "Who are you? How do you know me? I don't know you." But it does go against that kind of like pressure expectation to be polite and to be friendly and to talk to, strangers, no matter what the situation is. So that can be a challenge,
Yeah.
to pull that back, right? And there can be that fear of being rude, and that fear of like, well, I don't want to be rude by putting up a boundary. I don't want to disappoint somebody by saying no, and those kinds of boundaries as well. So it's quite a challenge, but it sounds like you've done a lot of work in this regard for yourself to be able to, right, to go from, oh, I'm going from one extreme, my default is no, I'm going to go, the other extreme, I'm going to say yes. And then kind of pulling it back in and going, what is this balance for myself? I love your strategy of using your planner too, because, we only have a certain amount of hours in the day and in the week and in the year, but we also only have a certain amount of energy in our day and our week and our year. And depending on the week, I've got more energy or I've got less energy to give to things, and super energetic Julie will sometimes schedule things in for not so energetic Julie,
Yeah.
and go, like what was I thinking 4 weeks ago, right? When I scheduled this in. And so that process of getting to know ourselves too, and being able to, kind of track those energy spikes and energy lows, and what is it that I need in order to maintain my energy and keep it going, and scheduling those things in as well. So I love that you're talking about, scheduling in your personal stuff as well as your work stuff, because your personal stuff, the stuff that feeds you and allows you to keep that energy high or keep that energy going, is important to your work stuff, especially working with people. Working with people can be very, it's wonderful. And you're such a people person, right? That you enjoy getting to know people, but it also takes a lot of energy to talk to people. And so that self-care that you're doing of blocking that out and blocking out time to take care of yourself is so important. Very inspirational. So when you replace calm down with I'm excited, or when you personally replace I'm scared with I'm excited or I'm pumped, do you feel a change when you do that? What does it feel like for you?
I definitely feel a change, but it's difficult. Like, you can say, like, I'm excited, but like you're still like, oh no, I'm really
I'm not really excited.
But like, I guess I just keep repeating it to myself, and it helps me actually do it. Because if I like repeat to myself, no, I don't want to, I'm scared, I don't want to, then my response is gonna be, okay, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna play sick. I'm gonna fall down or something so I can't go. Like, but if I'm like, I'm excited, I get to do this, I might still like on the inside be like, no, I don't want to, but I get myself there and I do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that you're sharing that experience, because I think that's so, I think it's so important that we hear from other people too. Like, when I say that, it does help, but it doesn't make it less terrifying, right? Yeah. Like, I can still feel scared, and it does help. But if you tell yourself, I'm not scared, I'm excited.
Yeah.
If it doesn't immediately go, oh, great, I'm excited, I'm not scared anymore, that's okay. Yeah. That is normal. And it's that kind of repeating it over and over, kind of giving yourself a different mantra other than I don't want to, I'm scared, I can't, I won't, I can't do it. It gives you that other mantra.
Yeah. And then I think after actually doing something, like, I don't know, giving my first presentation in college, I really didn't want to do it, but they were like, you're going to fail the class if you don't. And all my high school teachers let me get out of it if I cried. But then after I did it, I was like, wait, I was really scared, but I told myself, you get to do it. You just got to do it. Afterwards, I was like, whoa, I was really good at that. So you start to feel better about things.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. In hindsight, like, once it's done, like, oh, wow. And the steeper the mountain, the bigger the challenge, and the more afraid we are to do it, the better that feels at the end of it, right? Like, that the more fun the downhill climb is, right, on the other side, because we know then that, okay, well, now when my anxiety is at a 9, I can still do the thing, and I can still do it well. It just builds that confidence in ourselves. Whereas if we've never experienced doing something with a 9 anxiety level, right, we're like, oh, I don't think I can do it. Once we have that experience, like, oh yeah, I can do it. I've done it before. And there's so much to be said for that inner monologue that happens, and that kind of loop that runs through our head, right? That I can't, I don't want to, I'm scared, right? And being able to stop that loop with thought stopping and replacing that with a different thought, even if the next thought is like, really, do I believe that I'm not scared? Do I believe that I'm excited? Right? We go, it still stops the loop of I can't do it, I'm too afraid, this is going to be a train wreck, right? Like, those thoughts, they're not helpful to us, and they do change our behaviors into and they change our outcomes, right, into sometimes things that we don't want. And so I love that. That's so helpful. I'm doing my first marathon on Sunday, and somebody asked me the other day, are you going to listen to music? Have you picked out your music? And I was like, I am not listening to music because when I listen to music, I know my brain, and I know that my brain will zone out the music and just go, this is really hard. People are passing you. You're never going to write. Like, you're going to be the last one to finish. Like, all of these, or you're going to get injured and not finish. Like, that's what I'm going to hear inside my head instead of the music. And so I'm going to do audiobooks instead. I'm getting like a bunch of like mystery novels on audio, and I'm going to listen to those because there's going to be words playing in my head and hopefully drowned out those thoughts, right, that otherwise come through. So that thought stopping is so important, and intentionally changing that narrative is so important. So what a great way to do that. Telling ourselves we're excited and look what I get to do, right? Yeah, awesome. So what are some of your favorite in-home behavioral health counseling activities? So I know you mentioned the M&Ms one, and I know you do some really fun activities with the families that you work with. So what are some of your favorite?
I think recently I have a lot of male clients, and they're into video games. I think like working on like Minecraft specifically, I've had a lot of sessions where we use Minecraft, working on like kind of role playing, but so they don't know, like, I don't know how to do that, but I don't want to build the house that way. Can we do it this way? And it's kind of like you're building the skills and seeing how they react in something that they do usually so that you can work on it.
That is awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of problem solving skills that go into Minecraft, and a lot. And I think that's so. It's very strength based to take something that they're already into and that they're already succeeding at, and feel good about, and then take that and identify that. And in those situations, a lot of times we're not even teaching a new skill. We're just identifying out loud that I can see that you have these skills. I can see that you have determination when you're doing this. I can see that you have creativity and that you're problem solving all the time while you're doing this. And it's kind of like what you were talking about reflecting over doing something that you're nervous about doing, right? Like when you reflect on it back and see like, oh yeah, I am doing those things. It changes that narrative. So how cool. Yeah, video games are awesome for that stuff. I remember I used to do BHIS when the Wii was first like coming out and very popular. And so like Wii bowling and the Rock Band one where you're playing the drums. Oh man, we did a lot of sessions on the Wii. And I remember coming home from BHIS sessions and going like, I just got paid to play the Wii for 2 hours, or for 4 hours or however long. But oh my gosh, how important those skills are that we're doing there. So very cool. And what a great way to integrate the things that child already loves into that session. So important. Really, really cool. What are some other activities that you like to do?
I started working, so I like collaborative art with family sessions. So for like a couple of sessions recently for the fall, we're doing I have poster boards and we draw a tree and then we have leaf cutouts and everyone adds like they write something in the leaf that they're grateful for and you tape it or glue it and it's a big poster of what we're grateful for and you can add to it. I'm encouraging them to add to it, giving them extra leaf cutouts.
Oh, that's fun. I love that. And the whole family participates in that. Oh, that's beautiful. There's a very strong thread through this whole interview of gratitude. And it seems that gratitude is very important to you and something that you're really passionate about sharing with your clients as well, that practice of gratitude. as coping, right? Like gratitude can be coping as well. And I think that the activities that you're doing are really highlight that. Yeah. If you were to give a suggestion to somebody maybe on the fence about starting behavioral health intervention for themselves or for their child, what suggestion might you give to that person?
I would tell them just to try it out and see where it goes. Usually there's benefits, and usually there's just benefits.
Absolutely. Yeah, there can be some anxiety. I mean, we've been talking about anxiety and kind of overcoming those anxieties behaviorally, and there can be a lot of anxiety for a parent or guardian calling in to get services for their child. Like, I think about my house and I think about somebody coming into my house every week. Like, that's a lot of cleaning. I always say, right? Getting my house ready, or, you know, all of that. And so whether those are things that I would actually have to be worried about, or after a while with BHIS, you go, oh yeah, I'm not going to clean for Kyla, you know, like, whatever. No, she knows that my house is.
I'm nervous to have you here because my house is a mess, and I think like we're all people. My apartment is a mess too. I'm not paying attention.
Absolutely. And so I just love that, you know, this idea kind of running through this whole interview of, you know, if you're a parent or a guardian having some anxiety about having somebody come and work with your child, that if you can get that start momentum, that start energy, if we can try telling ourselves like, well, this is an opportunity for my child, right? This is something I can provide to them, just by giving the time and just by welcoming this person into my house and scheduling it, I can give this gift to my child. Is huge. And then being able to look back on it once it started and going like, yeah, that it's made a difference for my child. It's made a difference for my family. And I'm not nervous when Kyla comes over anymore, because whatever, she knows what my house looks like. She knows how my kids yell at each other. Like, she's not worried about it. It's fine. And so like that relief and that comfort that comes with having BHIS in your home and with having a counselor come to your home. You know, I used to feel like I was just one of the family, you know, when I was there, because everybody just acted the way that they normally would. When it's once a week, you don't have to put on special presentation, right, for that person. You can really be yourself when you're in your house. Awesome. Well, great advice. And I love this quote. And thank you so much for sharing with us about, you know, your experience in the justice system and studying criminal justice, and your experience in residential treatment and groups, and then your current sessions with children. I think it's just really, really great work that you're doing, Kyla.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
I'm Kyla Jo, and I need a counselor.
Awesome. Me too. So does Chrissa. We all do. And I think, you know, being in this field, especially, man, we need counselors in our lives when we're being counselors. So very, very cool. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So if you are in the Ames area here in Iowa, and you're interested in doing sessions with Kyla in home for your children, give us a call at 800-531-4236. Or if you are in the state of Iowa and looking for counseling services, Kyla also does telehealth. So if you've got an adolescent child or guardian to an adolescent child who would be interested in telehealth over the phone or over the computer, they could meet with Kyla as well. So give us a call there.
And like Julie mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we post new episodes every Sunday at 5 p.m. Central. So save up whatever task you hate doing, like laundry or meal prepping, and listen to us while you do it. And we can help convince you to reach out to us or another counselor or your own counselor and get started with BHIS or therapy services that week. And if you have any questions for us or for Kyla, you can reach us on our Facebook page at You Need a Counselor Podcast or on our Instagram at You Need a Counselor Podcast as well. So I'm Chrissa Hunt.
And I'm Julie Johnson, and we need a counselor.
And so do you.
Bye.
Bye.